What if I told you that the most feared book in the Western world, a book accused of summoning spirits, twisting the stars, and forging dark pacts, was born not in a dark dungeon or an alchemist's lair, but in the golden libraries of the Islamic world? This is the hidden story of Picatrix, or as it was originally called, Ghāyat al-Ḥakīm, the aim of the sage. A book so mysterious, so powerful, so dangerous, that even scholars of the highest ranks feared to touch it. But where did it come from? Who wrote it? And why does it contain rituals, recipes, and philosophies that blend Islam, astrology, Hermeticism, and ancient magic? My name is Haroon Niazy, and in this video, we begin a journey into the shadows of knowledge, into a book that once stood at the crossroads of science, spirituality, and sorcery. Let's travel back to a time when the world looked very different, when Europe was buried in the fog of the Dark Ages, and the Islamic world was the center of learning, science, and spiritual exploration. We're going back to the 10th century into the heart of Andalusian Spain, the world before the Picatrix, the golden age of Islamic knowledge. In the east, the Abbasid Caliphate ruled from Baghdad, a beacon of intellectual light. In the west, Al-Andalus, modern-day Spain and Portugal, flourished under Muslim rule. In these lands, Muslims had done something extraordinary. They gathered the wisdom of the ancient Greeks, Persians, Indians, and Babylonians, and preserved, translated, and expanded it. Baghdad's House of Wisdom, Bayt al-Hikmah, was the Google of its time, a place where texts on mathematics, astronomy, medicine, philosophy, and magic were studied side by side. And it is from this environment that the Picatrix was born. Now, don't get me wrong, not everyone approved of this. Magic and astrology were controversial topics, even in the Islamic world. Islamic scholars drew a line between ilm al-nujum, the science of the stars, used for calendars and navigation, and seer, forbidden sorcery. But some thinkers walked that tightrope, combining science and spirituality, often at great risk. One of them was a mysterious figure named Maslama ibn Ahmad al-Majrītī. The mystery of Maslama al-Majrītī, author or gatekeeper. Maslama al-Majrītī was a brilliant mathematician, astronomer, and alchemist from Madrid. Yes, that Madrid. He lived during the late 10th and early 11th century. But here's the mystery. Many modern scholars believe he was the true author of the Ghāyat al-Ḥakīm. Others argue he was only its compiler, or that his name was used to give the book credibility. You see, authorship in those days wasn't like it is now. Books were copied, edited, and expanded over generations, sometimes anonymously, sometimes under famous names. But whoever wrote it, Maslama or someone else, the Picatrix is not just a book, it's a compendium of power. So what exactly is in this book? A preview of what's inside, but not for the faint of heart. The Ghāyat al-Ḥakīm is over 400 pages long in its Arabic form. When it was translated into Latin in the 12th century, it became known as Picatrix, a strange name that we'll come back to. But inside, it reads like a manual for celestial manipulation. It teaches how to summon planetary spirits, how to create talismans infused with cosmic forces. It talks about magical timings, rituals, and sacrifices, and includes prayers, incantations, and astrological formulas that can alter fate itself. Some recipes involve dangerous herbs, animal parts, and even blood offerings. And yet, it also contains deep philosophy, drawing from Aristotle, Plato, and Hermes Trismegistus. It's a book that mixes logic with mysticism, and that's exactly what made it so powerful and so feared. So how did this Arabic book of magic end up in the hands of European occultists? Let's talk about a place that changed everything: Toledo, Spain. Toledo, the crossroad of translation and transmission. In the 12th century, Christian forces were reclaiming territory in Spain, but instead of destroying the Muslim libraries they translated them. Led by figures like Gerard of Cremona, the Toledo School of Translators began converting Arabic texts into Latin. They translated medical books, mathematical theories, and yes, magical works. Somewhere between 1150 and 1250, the Ghāyat al-Ḥakīm was translated into Latin and given the name Picatrix. Why that name? No one knows for sure. Some believe it was a corruption of a name mentioned in the text. Others think it was an attempt to Christianize or cloak the true identity of the book. But one thing was clear. Europe had just received the most advanced manual of astrological magic ever written. The philosophy behind the Picatrix, the unseen connections. The Picatrix is more than just instructions. It is a worldview. A worldview built on an idea that sounds simple, but is deeply radical. Everything in the universe is connected, and that connection can be manipulated. That's the foundation of Hermetic philosophy. You may have heard this saying, as above, so below. In other words, what happens in the heavens reflects what happens on earth, and what we do on earth can influence the stars above. This belief wasn't new. It echoed through ancient Egyptian mysticism, Greek Neoplatonism, Sufi cosmology, and even early Indian and Persian spiritual texts. But the Picatrix brought them together into one powerful, controversial system. To truly understand Picatrix, we must grasp its 4 key ideas. 1. The cosmos is alive. The book teaches that the universe isn't mechanical, it's alive. Each planet, each star, each element has a spirit or essence that can be communicated with. 2. Timing is power. You can't just do magic whenever you want. Every action must be timed with astrological precision. Certain days, hours, and planetary alignments enhance specific energies. 3. The human soul mirrors the universe. Our soul, according to Picatrix, reflects the larger cosmos. So, by perfecting the soul, a person becomes in tune with the stars and can even command them. 4. Magic is the bridge. Magic in this system isn't evil. It's a science of harmonizing spiritual and material forces. It requires discipline, fasting, purification of an extreme mental focus. In short, Picatrix presents magic as a spiritual science. Islamic scholarship versus the Picatrix, the spiritual tension. This is where the tension begins. Because while the Islamic world deeply valued astronomy, mathematics, and metaphysics, it also had strong boundaries when it came to sihr, sorcery. The Quran clearly condemns magic, and they learned what harmed them and did not benefit them. Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 102. The Prophet Muḥammad, peace be upon him, warned us, avoid the 7 deadly sins, one of which is practicing magic, or Sahih Bukhari. But the Picatrix often blurs that line. Yes, it teaches astrology, but it also talks about invoking spirits, using incense and blood, and calling upon planetary intelligences. Some Muslim scholars saw this as dangerous innovation, even shirk, associating others with Allah. So how could such a book be written in the Islamic world? Here's the surprising part. The secret scholars, occultists in the shadows of the Ummah. Throughout Islamic history, there were always scholars who explored the occult quietly. Jabir ibn Hayyan, Geber, studied alchemy and spiritual transformation. Ibn Arabi, the great Sufi, wrote about cosmic correspondences. Even Al-Kindi wrote about astrology and talismans, but they did so within spiritual limits. They saw magic as either symbolic or part of healing and purification. The Picatrix, however, sometimes crosses into darker territory. Some of its rituals require long periods of sexual abstinence, sacrificing animals under planetary influence, creating images or idols associated with celestial forces. For many Islamic scholars, this was unacceptable. Yet, in the multicultural world of Al-Andalus, where Muslims, Christians, and Jews lived and traded ideas, such books were allowed to exist, even thrive, but only for a time. The fall of tolerance and the rise of fear. By the 13th century, the tide had turned. Muslim Spain was shrinking. The Inquisition was rising in the Christian world. Superstition and paranoia were replacing philosophy. The Picatrix was now seen as dangerous, heretical, and demonic. The Catholic Church listed it among forbidden books. Possessing it could lead to excommunication or worse. And yet, the more it was banned, the more people wanted it. Why? Because the Picatrix promised something that no other book did. The illusion of control, not the promise of Picatrix and its ultimate danger. Think about it. What if you could time your every move to perfection, align your soul with the stars, attract love, wealth, power, banish enemies, influence dreams, heal the body or the mind with talismans? That's what the Picatrix claimed it could do. But here's the truth, it's not a game. Even today, modern occultists warn this book is not for beginners. It requires mental discipline, spiritual preparation, knowledge of ancient astrology and philosophy, and most importantly, protection. Because once you start dealing with unseen forces, you're not the only one doing the watching. The modern legacy, why the Picatrix still matters. Today, the Picatrix lives on. You can find English translations, online forums discussing rituals, occult shops selling its talismans, YouTube videos decoding its spells. But very few people realize its Islamic origins. Even fewer know the philosophy that gave it depth, or the warnings hidden within its pages. Because the truth is, Picatrix is not about demons or devils. It's about a question that haunts every seeker of truth. How much power can one human soul hold before it's consumed? The line between knowledge and madness. Some knowledge is light, some is shadow. The Picatrix is both. It came from a time of curiosity, of exploration, of divine and forbidden knowledge sitting side by side. It reminds us that the pursuit of power without humility can turn wisdom into poison. So if you ever come across the Picatrix and feel tempted to read its secrets, ask yourself, is your soul ready to carry the weight of the stars? Or will you get lost in them? This was episode 1 of our series on the Picatrix, its origins, philosophy, and the scholars who gave it life. In the next episode, we will open the book itself, and I'll show you exactly what's inside. The 4 volumes, the magical instructions, and the real spells that terrified kings, priests, and philosophers. Make sure to subscribe, because this series is just beginning, and what's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew about magic, science, and the cosmos. And this was Secrets of the Picatrix.